The suppression of these technologies has been very, very well organized for over 100 years. This can be proven. There are many accounts of people who have had their technologies, as I mentioned, forcibly confiscated or classified, illegally classified by the abuses of Title 35, Section 180, 181 of the patent law. There are others who have been just flat out intimidated and threatened. Others simply bought out and told that, you know, you don't want to do this and we will buy it out from you. I think the most important way that it's been suppressed, this is a very good example, is that many times when support begins to build around one of these technologies, there is enormous pressure brought to bear to stop the funding of it or the support of it. For example, we were working with some people who had dealt with what are called charged clusters and that Ken Shoulders and others had worked on. And the Department of Energy during the Clinton years, when Richardson was head of it, was going to authorize by a few $1 million, I don't remember the exact amount, to take that into a larger prototype system because it was capable of neutralizing radioactive waste. So we wouldn't need to be spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Yucca Mountain and what have you. And that funding was authorized at the level of the director of the Department of Energy. And then there was so much pressure brought to bear on him that they pulled that funding back even after they had announced or published that they were going to provide that grant. And that was based on research that had been reproduced by Japanese scientists and other universities. And so this kind of active interference in the natural progression of technologies that deal with over-unity effects is very well documented. It is not some kind of a theory. And so we feel that the only way to change that is to get millions of people involved and supporting this kind of technology, and also to have the developments announced in real time so that the public is participating. So it's not done secretively. It's not done in a way that would empower the interests that want to keep these things secret and suppressed because too many people would know about it. And we have done this with other projects, of course, and it's been very successful. So I think we have to do that with the energy issues because obviously the special interests, if you want to call them that have this $200 trillion piggy bank of oil and gas and coal and conventional power systems have a lot of clout and have a way of stopping these things dead in their tracks, buying them out, intimidating. And unfortunately, I don't think the lone inventor sitting in his garage or even his laboratory is going to be able to go up against that. I think it's going to take a very well thought through strategic plan, which we have, and a lot of connections and support from people who do want to see these solutions, as well as the masses, the public, who are going to say, I'm going to support the funding of it, and then I'm going to support the disclosure and promulgation of these technologies, because now it's a matter of life and death for our planet and also for our the peace of the planet. And I think people are getting that, because there's no way that we're going to have peace on Earth when there's the injustice of 80% of the world living in poverty and half the world's population living on less than $2 a day. That zero-sum game of the current economic order cannot be changed with fossil fuels. Because if 6.5 billion people lived like we did, with air conditioning and cars and all this, we would be out of fuel today. Never mind the effects on the biosphere and global warming and the polar ice caps and ice shelves melting. So we're going to have to come up with technologies that address that at a very fundamental level. It's technically absolutely doable, but it's going to require some funding, and it's going to require, I think, a lot of mass support from the public and people who are in institutions around the world who do want to see a solution to the environmental and energy crisis, who we have been identifying. The funding so far, I think, the most promising source is from the people. We have found that people who are very wealthy, or governments, as in the case of the Department of Energy, often have pressures placed on them not to support something that would be perceived as rocking the boat of the current status quo. And the current status quo, make no mistake about it, the machine that runs the entire world's industrial economy is fossil fuels of some type. Gas, natural gas, oil, coal, what have you. And you're not going to solve that problem by tinkering around the edges of it. You know, I mean, here's another inconvenient truth. Saving 10 or 20% isn't going to do much when you have billions of people in India and China going online with coal-fired power plants without any scrubbers. I mean, there's something like, over the next decade, 600 coal-fired power plants that are going online in India and China, which by themselves will double global greenhouse gases, even if all the rest of us stopped using our cars and our electricity. So there's simply no way to solve this problem using the conventional wisdom. And the solar and wind solutions, as wonderful as they are going to be too limiting to be effective enough quickly enough. We know through the study of these other technologies that you can create lots of electromagnetic power from this environmental energy that exists within what's called the zero-point energy field, or even within thermal gradients. And Dr. Loader can speak to some of the research we're doing in that area. So the question is, can that be supported by the public adequately? If it is, I think that within a year or two, we would have some major breakthroughs in prototypes that could then be announced to the public, and then we could enlist the public support to get those out so that they could, and basically squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube quickly enough that it'd be very hard to put it back in.